Obviously, live is not going to work for me this morning. I don't know why, but I'm not going to worry about it. And so today I wanted to talk about the throat chakra. How do you want to be heard? How do you want to be heard? And I think it's just like the baby in the airport. He wanted to be heard because he wanted something and he felt unheard. And so instead of being able to verbalize it, he had this big outburst into the airport. And it was only because he couldn't communicate. When you're not heard, how do you feel and how do you respond to others? Do you have an outburst, or do you hold it in? Either way, if you have an outburst, you know, you're looked at, people are like, oh my God, what's wrong with this person? And maybe you appear disruptive or crazy or childish, right? Is it that you really are childish or crazy or disruptive? Or are you just having some type of meltdown? You know, where you just reached this point where you just couldn't take it, you know, and you just had an outburst. And we can forgive that, right? That can be forgiven. And then also, too, there's a way that you can do it that I do believe is childish, and that's people that I forget the word that they use. Oh, it's passive aggressive. That's the most annoying. Because instead of saying what the problem is, it's sarcasm, it's expecting people to know what you want, and you're not necessarily communicating it, and so you got like side eye and side comments and stuff like that. That's the one that, you know, you want to elbow somebody in the head, like, you know, just shut up. Because it's like they're being rude at the same time, but then blaming you for the problem, but not necessarily communicating with you exactly what it is. And then there's a person that's just used to not getting what they want, and this is like reaching a age of depression, a stage of depression. They're so used to not getting what they want, and they just hold it in and become meek and withdrawn. But either way, if you're coming across with sarcasm, that is felt. That's not something that just goes past people without being felt. It's an energy vampire move. It's draining. It's not positive. And the outburst, not necessarily the move of a vampire, but it's disruptive, you know, it's not very positive. And then the person that holds it in too, sometimes you create a void in the energy by withdrawing, and then people say, well, what's wrong? Are you okay? Are you or maybe they don't notice. You know, I would think you'd have to be a little bit insensitive not to notice when people withdraw. But it definitely doesn't help you to withdraw and back into a corner and not have your needs met and not be able to communicate clearly. So one thing that I'm doing lately, for some time now too, I like to set fires to ground myself and to collect myself. I don't know what it is, but I know I'm a fire elemental, so, and I've had many forms of fire in my past, so when I set fire and I can walk and think and kind of pull my attention back to myself, my thoughts, and focus, that helps me. But another thing I've been doing is, as a member of the Bloom Temple, I'm using my oils. So for the throat chakra, in the front, there's amber oil, and it has a roller ball with a soda light roller. And I'll put this on the front, and I'll still even put it on the back, because your 14 chakras go up to the 7th, and out into your etheric body. But if you wanted to find a placement, you would go up to the 7th, 8th, 9th, and go down. So then I would put it on the throat and on the back of the throat, right? But then for the 10th chakra, it's frankincense. And so I would still put this around my throat, even behind my ears and in the back. And of course, you know, frankincense can remove those feelings of those wayward energies that are kind of depressing and that can attach to you. But when you put it on the back of your throat, it's called God's mouth. You can put it around your throat. It's God's mouth. So you collect your energy. I even wear lapis. I was told to wear lapis all the way around my throat. Not only do I like to talk and give the messages, you know, that I receive, and then I like to do YouTubes, and I do card readings, and I talk to people a lot about their feelings and their thoughts. And I want to make sure I'm using the proper type of communication. I want people to feel heard, but then I want them to clearly understand my message. That even if I'm offering advice, I don't want people to feel that I'm downing them or slighting them or not giving them my full understanding. But then I'm offering them something maybe that can uplift them. And I do want to use God's mouth when I speak, because sometimes my mouth ain't the right mouth. So I'm a little smart at the mouth. So, and I can be, but I swear I try my best not to be that person. What's that word that communicates in a way of sarcasm? Because I don't do sarcasm for myself, don't tolerate it, and I don't like passive aggressive nonsense. That's like a way to be like, you know, I don't do passive aggressive, and I don't do anybody passing on their guilt to me. That's like a way that I will immediately distance myself from people, because that's like a huge flashback to like dealing with ex-husbands and my mom. So, and I don't do that. You know, I think about that too, even with your mom, how they can put guilt on you sometimes, and you want to love them, but then you have to let them know, like, this is how I need you to communicate with me. If you want me to hear you and hear you properly, communicate with me in this way. So frankincense, they said it alleviates the anxiety and depression by working in particular channels of the brain known as ion channels. So we don't understand it much, and it's pretty anecdotal, you know, the information that they have on it, but it calms people down and brings people to the appropriate state of activation if they've been in a depressive state. And the worst thing is when someone's communicating with you out of a state of depression, because that is sarcasm, bitterness, and morbidity. These things that when they come across speaking to you in that state of depression, you either want to escape from them, it drains your energy, or maybe you want to fight back with them in some type of way. But helping me to calm down and to be in a state, especially when you're around a lot of different people with a lot of different things going on, I'm using the frankincense on the front and back of my throat. Now this other oil, the cashmere oil with the sodalite stone, it helps you with listening, resonance, and finding your own voice. And you'll find that when you start to use your true voice, and start speaking your mind on what you like and don't like, what you tolerate and will not tolerate, you will notice people will shift around you. Either they're gonna love it, Besma. Either they're gonna love it or they're gonna hate it. So you're gonna either clear the room, and you'll see who your real friends are if you start to communicate in a way where you're coming from your true self. What I want, what I don't want, what I'll tolerate, what I don't tolerate, and boundaries. And I remember last year, I had to really put down some hardcore boundaries with some people because they, I had one particular person come to me and say, well, I thought you would do this, but you did that. And I don't know, they were just putting all their hopes on me, like, oh, I see that you're going to do this. And they weren't really satisfied with the things that I was doing. So they were just kind of putting on me their expectations and telling me what they expected of me when we never had these conversations or plans. And I had to let them know, like, hey, I'm doing this. I have plans to do X, Y, and Z. And sorry if that doesn't fit into what you want, but that's what I'm doing. And they would still come back at me with more how they feel about, what I'm doing. And it was like, this isn't even your ball game, okay? So move out of my space. Stop trying to make me feel guilty, because I don't have a problem communicating what I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I don't want, and what I will tolerate. And then there's this space and time where there's a lot of things I really don't care about, because I'm pretty simple sometimes when it comes to being in other people's company. I don't need sparkling, bubbling Evian water. If I didn't bring it, I don't need it, So I don't put all my hopes and desires into other people to try to get them to make me happy. I'm pretty much occupied in my own mind, in my own space a lot of times. And I try to give when I can, and I try to be quiet when I can too, because that's a whole nother thing. Sometimes you need to know when to be quiet, when to give, and when to talk. And then, is it worth saying? And another quote that I had, I swear it was inspired by someone extremely close to me, and that is, think before you speak. And it breaks down into think, is it true what you just said? H, is it helpful what you just said? So helpful. Okay, I, is it inspiring what you said? N, is it necessary even to be said? And then K, is it kind what you just said? And so a lot of people don't have internal dialogue to say, I wonder, did I, and so me, I even go across my thoughts sometimes. Did I say that wrong? Did I oversay it? Was I too loud or too strong? And then, if I have to go self-correct and go apologize because I was like, I know I came off a little strong, but can you do that? Can you check in on yourself and monitor yourself and measure your thoughts versus your actions and your feelings? That's an important thing that some people really just don't have. And then if they don't have it, and maybe you don't feel comfortable communicating with them, I know someone said some stuff to me and I let them know, like, these are uncomfortable conversations. I don't think I want to do that anymore. And that's okay, because that's my sovereignty. I don't have to do things I don't want to do. And it's so interesting too, because I went to a church before where it was like, you gotta be friends with everybody and you gotta love everybody. But like I said the other day, you love people in their higher heart, but that doesn't mean they're all up inside your your everyday space. You can love people from a higher space, and I love you as mankind or as sisters and brothers. But then there's people that are your confidant, that your ride or die, or your besties. And so that's a different space and a different place. And it's okay for you to put those boundaries up. And so let's work on that throat chakra. Talk to me. Leave me a message. Let me know if this made sense to you. And I didn't do a card today. Let me see. I'll do another video.